Support WrestleTalk!
Join us on Discord. Thanks for your support on Patreon. Jerry was a race car driver, Spicher. R-Truth loses his 24/7 title. Elias wins his first ever WWE title, which is also the 24/7 title. Elias loses his first ever WWE title, the 24/7 title. And R-Truth becomes the first ever 24/7 two-time title, so like a 48-14 title. I don't know what's going on. And Moxley Jon Ambrose's first AEW match has been revealed, and oh my god, it's going to be so bloody. Click the timestamps in the video description below to go straight to any of those stories. I'm Ollie Davis doing the SmackDown review today because Luke is making loads of videos on the new Godzilla movie, which you can watch over on Screenstalker. So join in with my Super Click party. Super Click! By giving us a subscribe, press the thumbs up button, and leave a comment down below to answer our question of the day: is the wildcard rule ruining SmackDown? Because I'll be replying to people from out of nowhere. And make sure you vote in the poll above my head to let me know what you thought of the show, where you can choose from Smackdam, Smacktastic, Smack Bang in the Middle, Smackdowner, and a Smack in the Face, while I review the 28th of May 2019 edition of SmackDown Live. While it took almost the entire duration of SmackDown for Raw to have its first proper wrestling match on Monday night, we got our first bout here just 10 minutes into the show. There was still one in-ring promo though, because that's what wrestling fans want, right? Where Kevin Owens ran down Kofi Kingston and wished Dolph Ziggler luck in beating him at Super Arabia. And then KO brought up something rather odd. He claimed he didn't attack Big E last week. Ziggler has also denied taking Big E out, which leads to the question, who did? And were they the same person who took out Sami Zayn at Money in the Bank? This could possibly be a way to re-debut Aleister Black after his series of moody promos, revealing him as Kofi's tormentor to insert him right in the main event scene. But I'm worried it could be something a lot more WWE. Big E screwed Big E, or Xavier Woods. Just some version where the New Day breaks up by turning heel on itself. Something I don't think anyone ever wants to see, meaning Vince McMahon will likely give it to us. KO's promo brought out a furious Kofi after being beaten down by Ziggler the previous night. Look at him, he's so furious, throwing those pancakes into the crowd. Pancakes of fury and pain! And it turned into a Money in the Bank rematch between the two. It was a good bout, with KO hitting frog splashes both inside and out the ring, and even a swanton bomb off the top rope. In fact, he did more high flying than Kofi. Just call him KO. Kofi Kingston. But I don't think anyone ever really bought into the drama, as Kingston had already beaten Owens last week, and this was just the opening match with no Brock Lesnar in sight. He really has gone home when he realized he's got a year to cash in, hasn't he? Kofi hit the Trouble in Paradise for the win. Todd Phillips then announced WWE has a combined 1 billion social media followers. Just 999,291,485 left to go until WrestleTalk beats you, Vince! Daniel Bryan and Rowan were out next to cut an in-ring promo on SmackDown's non-existent tag division and your local hometown's controversial drilling practices, where Bryan is so good he somehow managed to get Oklahoma to cheer in defense of fracking, which is thought to be linked to a significant increase in earthquakes in the area. And I'm not talking about John Tenter. Rather appropriately, when talking about industrial damage to the earth, Heavy Machinery answered Bryan and Rowan's call with the opening line, "As much as we love having fun, it's time to get down to serious blue-collar business." Blue-collar business like fracking. And everyone loves having fun. Who doesn't love having fun? Mandy Rose is on the front cover of a magazine released this week, which means that's enough to build a women's division storyline around women's evolution. Rose and Sonya Deville forced a copy on everyone backstage, including Ember Moon, who was reading a book like a nerd, which didn't even play into anything, as Moon wasn't in the following Rose vs. Carmella rematch from last week. This one hardly went a few minutes either, and ended with a distraction roll-up from Mandy after Sonya got up on the apron with the magazine. We also have a magazine. You should buy it. Aleister Black then cut one of his best delivered promos yet. While nothing much has progressed in the last 4 weeks of him just talking in a dark room, his Joker-like smile at the end while saying he's sitting here patiently waiting for somebody, anybody to pick a fight with him was very cool. When the wildcard rule was first introduced several weeks ago, I was optimistic. I thought seeing wrestlers appear on their opposite brands would give the shows more star power and allow for some fun exhibition-style matches. But just 3 weeks in, it's quickly become apparent they're only going to use the same same few wrestlers as wildcards for every show, and feuds are now built across both Raw and SmackDown, overexposing and stretching out stories and characters. Brand split, LOL. And nowhere is that more evident than the Omnishane. After seeing a very similar segment on Raw, WWE felt it necessary to have yet another Shane McMahon mid-card of evil bit on SmackDown, where he was flanked by Drew McIntyre and Elias for Shane McMahon Appreciation Night. There was one moment of interest though, where Shane thanked the production team for editing together his best in the world video package under the awesomeness of Kevin Dunn, WWE's much criticized head producer because he's behind camera aesthetics like this. Crash Zoom party, keep on zooming. Crash, let's convey some chaos. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo! AEW is brought up more often than Kevin Dunn in WWE. Speaking of, nice MJF sign, crowd member opposite the hard cam. The segment ended when R-Truth ran into the ring, successfully defended against Drake Maverick, but then got beaten up by the mid-card of evil for Elias to win the 24/7 championship, his first title in WWE. Shane then booked a main event of Elias and McIntyre against Roman and Truth, with the 24/7 defense rule suspended so Elias can prepare. Bayley took on another of SmackDown's semi-permanent Raw members in a match against Lacey Evans. They had a pretty decent bout, and Evans continues to impress with her character-based spots. The problem, though, is that her character is a very mid-card act, and the gimmickiness feels out of place in a main event scene with realistic characters like Becky Lynch and formerly Ronda Rousey. Bayley punched Lacey's Mega Blonde's partner Charlotte for the finish, allowing the SmackDown Women's Champion to roll up Evans in the confusion. And then the Mega Blondes imploded as Lacey attacked Charlotte in frustration. Now it's time for last-minute Super Arabia promotion. The Undertaker was announced for next Monday's Raw ahead of Super Arabia. Randy Orton and Triple H got another promo for Super Arabia. Finn Balor was so beaten up after Money in the Bank, not only has he not been allowed to compete for the last 2 weeks, he wasn't even smiling in his promo. Andrade said he'll beat him at Super Arabia. And then the main event saw Truth get jumped by the mid-card of evil during his entrance, letting Reigns overcome the odds once again. Reigns got a great babyface reaction for his hot tag though, and the finish was wildly fun, with McIntyre missing a Claymore to crash and burn on the commentary table, Reigns hitting Elias with a spear for the win, and Truth regaining his 24/7 title to close the episode. This was a much easier show to watch than Raw, and even though the Shane McMahon stuff is tediously overbearing, the babyface payoff with Reigns and Truth was very fun. So this week's SmackDown is smack bang in the middle. Now over to Chopper Pete with the news, and Jon Moxley's first AEW match being revealed.
Great review, Ollie. Yes, I know Luke's still not here, but you can find him over on Screenstalker today to review Godzilla King of the Monsters, which releases in cinemas today. So just for today, you've got me. Speaking of things that have got other things, maybe I should leave the segues to Ollie. Well anyway, AEW have announced their latest signing. LUCHASAURUS has now officially signed with All Elite Wrestling, as they revealed on Twitter last night. The former independent star finished third in the Casino Battle Royal, being eliminated by the eventual winner, Hangman Adam Page. LUCHASAURUS, not to be confused with the Funkasaurus, has been featured on Lucha Underground, Bar Wrestling, and Ring of Honor, and impressed during his stint in the Casino Battle Royal. Considering he nearly won the match, and the winner would go on to have an AEW World Championship title match, it'll be interesting to see what plans AEW have for him moving forwards at Fyter Fest, Fight for the Fallen, and All Out. The former of those three events takes place the soonest, with Fyter Fest set for June 29th, and it's now been announced that a huge in-ring debut will be taking place at the show. Double or Nothing ended with Jon Moxley making his debut for AEW, attacking both Chris Jericho and Kenny Omega in the process, leaving fans wondering when they'll see him wrestle in a match. AEW took to Twitter again last night to confirm that Jon Moxley will be taking on Joey Janela at Fyter Fest, which currently has no stipulation attached. That doesn't mean though that that won't change, as both Moxley and Janela are known for their hardcore death matches in CZW. And considering Moxley left WWE to be able to explore more hardcore options and less goofy S-word, we could see something brutal on our hands. During the Casino Battle Royal, Janela ended up with a lit cigarette stapled to his face. So you know, normal stuff, it's pretty well documented how little Moxley cares for his own well-being when it comes to wrestling. So those two together could make for something amazing, or amazingly awful, or awfully amazing. One of those. But someone who might have egg on his face instead of a stapled lit cigarette is Sami Zayn, who name-dropped AEW in a promo on Raw, which has since been edited out of the YouTube version of Raw on WWE's YouTube channel. Well, now we've got an update on the entire situation, including potentially one very angry Vince McMahon. There are conflicting reports regarding whether this essentially free promotion for AEW was intentional and signed off as part of Sami Zayn's script or not, with Brian Alvarez on Wrestling Observer Radio reporting that his sources told him that it was not planned and Vince was furious over the ordeal, with co-host Dave Meltzer reporting that his sources told him that it was actually planned beforehand. Now we have an update on the situation, and it seems to just get more and more confusing as time goes by. On Wrestling Observer Live yesterday, Meltzer and Alvarez continued their discussion on the topic, with Alvarez saying, "There are two facts about the situation, alright? There are absolutely people who insist that Sami was given the okay to mention AEW. I've even heard from one person who said that in the script that went around in the morning yesterday, it was in the script that he was going to mention AEW. One person said that. I had another person say, and Dave had people tell him, that it was a scripted line. Now with that said, I heard from multiple people, far more people in fact, and people that heard from other people that all said the line was not scripted, the line was not supposed to be said. I was also told from multiple people that when it happened, Vince flipped his lid. He was furious that this happened. So that's literally, those are the two things that I can tell you. So however you want to figure out what the hell is going on here, there's various ways that you could explain this. The one that people seem to think is the most likely is that a small number of people were told he was given the okay and that they're working the boys and flipping out about it. I don't know what the answer is. All I know is that some people were told that he was given the okay, but most people said that he wasn't, and that Vince flipped out. I wasn't there. I don't know how the flip out occurred. I wasn't there to witness it, but I do know that the people there absolutely 100% believed that he was very angry, that this was not him putting on a show for people, that this was not him trying to work the boys, that he was angry when this got on the air. I don't know how to explain everything. I just know that's what happened last night. So Vince is working the boys, or Sami is shooting, or Sami and Vince are working the shoot together? Sounds like a messy recipe for people to work themselves into a shoot, brother. Check out Luke Owen's review of Godzilla King of the Monsters by clicking the video to my right. But before you do, make sure to press the thumbs up, subscribe, and bell icons to enable notifications, and leave us a comment letting us know what you thought of SmackDown. A special thank you to our lovely pledge hammers on Patreon, some of whom you can see scrolling below me right now. I've been Chopper Pete Quinnell, and that was wrestling.